a mixed bag of news for Villa over the last week, hasn't it? 30
Yes.
million pound, Pau Torres coming to the club. Not official yet, but that is something that's I think expected to happen in the next few days. I think he's on his honeymoon. Speaking again of weddings, he's got
Mm.
married, he's on his honeymoon. So when he returns, that will be made official. But then on the flip side, a couple of days ago, or was it yesterday or a couple of days ago, Jacob Ramsey picking up an injury on England under 21 duty, which was obviously very frustrating to see. But let's focus on the positive first, Frankie. What do you make of the Torres signing?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? He's a very high-profile name, the Spanish international. So I think the ability for Aston Villa to attract a player of that kind of name and experience, won the Europa League with Villarreal and a Spanish international, I think is a very positive sign of the type of player Aston Villa can attract to the club.
Mm.
Do I think central defence is where Aston Villa really needed to go hard this summer? Probably not.
But however, we did feel that way at left back about Moreno, didn't we? So
Yes, very good point, George. Yes. I think in my head it's like probably not, because I think Tyrone Mings and Ezri Konsa have been absolutely supreme since Emery came in, really. But, in the end, if Unai Emery has identified something in the defence that he thinks can improve, and I would imagine that's possibly something to do with progressive play. Pau Torres' strength is playing it out from the back, I suppose, being cool under pressure on the ball, being a ball-playing defender. If there's some kind of tactical idea he has that he thinks Pau Torres is best suited to bring in, or to sort of introduce and get going and to just improve us from playing from the back to the front, then you can't really question Unai Emery at this stage. I certainly think I'm more confident in Unai Emery's decision to sign a defender who is a left-sided centre-back than I am Steven Gerrard a year ago signing Diego Carlos. Diego Carlos, of course, we've not seen a lot of, and he is a talented defender. But in the end, I just kind of think Gerrard signing him over Mings seems a bit of a I just don't believe there's a plan with the guy. Whereas with the Unai Emery, I just think he has an idea and a plan. Do I think there's weaknesses and deficiencies in Torres' game? Well, I'm interested to know how he'll adapt to the Premier League, the aerial side of the game. I think if let's say Mings wasn't in the team, we lose a lot when Mings isn't there. We never seem to do well when Mings doesn't play. It's a constant problem. So I'd be somewhat concerned if Mings was not a regular starter next season. But that said, if we're looking to go very far in Europe next year, looking to go far in different trophies and cups, well, then we need more competition. You look at our midfield and you think there's great depth there now. There's great competition. There's probably might even be more players coming in. In defence now, that's really strong. That's really strong competition, kind of all over the defence, except that maybe right back. So also, you never know. Maybe there's a tactical decision. Maybe we'll even see a three at the back. Maybe Mings or Torres will play together as two left-footed centre-backs. I'm just very intrigued to see what Unai Emery has planned for this. And I think that I am optimistic. I think Unai Emery's deserved the right to be believed in about this. But I can't deny that I have some reticence as well about how Torres might deal with the Premier League. He's a great player, so he will deal with it. But I mean, as in, if he comes in at the expense of Mings, do we lose something that we just don't seem to ever be able to replace whenever Mings isn't on the pitch? But that's something I'm sure we'll see in the coming weeks and months.
Yeah, I mean, what I think we can all agree on is the strength and depth at centre back now is as strong as it's probably ever been at Aston Villa. You talk about perhaps Torres lacking a bit of physicality when Mings isn't there. However, Diego Carlos is a very physical player.
Yeah.
So, potentially what you might see, who knows, is that in European or other domestic cup competition, you'll have a centre-back partnership of Torres and Carlos, and kind of Premier League bread and butter stuff, it's Mings and Konsa. there'll be that kind of rotation taking place, perhaps. So, yeah, I think ultimately, we obviously trust Emery. He worked with Torres at Villarreal, so he knows all about him. And Torres has been a player who's been linked with some huge clubs, really, in the last sort of 18 months or so. Definitely the likes of, Man United and Liverpool. He's still, very young, got a lot of experience, international caps, as you say. So yeah, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of fans were a bit not dismissive, but curious as to why we signed Moreno when we did. And look how that signing transformed our side.
Yeah.
So, exactly. and as you say, Frankie, there could well be some tactical changes. Either we could go three at the back. We could put Konsa at right back. He's played there before, and play Torres and Mings in as the two central defenders. So there's lots of ways where now with his signing there is that element and air of sort of flexibility to our defence, which that was something that we probably did lack a little bit. So particularly with Carlos's injury last year. So yeah, I'm really excited. I think it is a bit of a marquee signing, and if that is, along with Tielemans as well, another very good player. And I think with those two signings being the first ones we bring in through the door, I think we've got a really exciting rest of the transfer window to look forward to. I think we can really be optimistic how it's all going to plan out.
Yeah, for sure. I'm intrigued to see how the transfer window goes, particularly with Monchi just in now, and I just wonder if we're just going to see random. One day we sat there and then David Ornstein from British Romano just out of nowhere. Aston Villa very close to the signing of XX player. I'd like to see certainly a couple more attackers come in. I think in that sort of the right wing role seems like a very obvious spot, and some competition for Buendia would what I'd like to see. But Jacob Ramsey's potential injury, of course, also will need to. It's not yet been disclosed how long he's going to be out for. He's certainly out for the rest of the European under-21 European Euros. So
which he's played very well in, by the way.
Yeah,
up to that point,
he's definitely out for that. Looking at it, it looked like he sort of got stamped on and grazed on the leg, maybe. So that's a bit of a worry. If that turns out to be a long-term injury, that may impact as well where we decide to target. But George, Cameron Archer as well.
Yeah, he's on fire.
Scores goals.
That's what he does. That's what he does. I'm very, very interested to see where Archer features again this season. I'm sure Emery's been following how both he and Ramsey have been doing in the under-21s competition. Of course, England are in the final now, so that's great for them. And Archer has been a big part of that, as well as Ramsey up until the point of his injury. I know they linked up for one of the goals earlier in the tournament. And pretty much every time Archer's played, he's scored. His record for the under-21s is phenomenal. So I wonder where he might feature for Villa this season. I saw on Instagram, John Duran was flying to Barcelona, and he put a sort of a signing emoji. And a few Villa fans were sort of thinking, oh, does that mean he's gone to Girona or Espanyol or Barca on loan? But it seems that it's just he was in back home in Colombia, and you can't get a direct flight back to England. I think you have to get to Barcelona first, then come back, because obviously they'll be back in training very soon, all the Villa players. So so you think Duran will stick around? That could change, but it could mean that he'll stay. So then, if he stays, where does Archer feature? Does he go back out on loan?
No, he's got to play. He's got to play.
I hope. I really hope he does. I think if you ask most Villa fans, they would probably say the same thing. As I said, he's had a great tournament with England and a really good loan spell with Middlesbrough. So I'd really like to see him tested, and obviously up front we're not the strongest. Obviously we've got rid of Ings, so Watkins needs competition, and maybe that's an area where maybe we don't have to spend that much money because Archer's available and in form.
Yeah, true. And George, also, I can see it on the wall behind you that there is a blank space. There is a blank. Are you planning on painting a mural of an Aston Villa player on there?
Yes. Oh, how did I should have really hidden that actually. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
well. It was going to be a mural of us. I was going to say,
Uh,
is it us and then all Villa, no filler, up top and bottom. Um, yeah, something like that. But I mean, I could
me
change.
and you with like angel wings floating into the heavens or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, I've yet to really kind of think about how I'm going to fill that space, but it could be, if Cameron Archer scores 20 goals this season, it could well be him.
I could be about to be uninvited to George's wedding because of this, the spicy question. And today, George, I ask you, pick me your starting 11 for the Newcastle game on the opening day of the season with the squad we currently have, and tell me where you'd still like to see reinforcements before that day hits us.
I mean, you could have been uninvited if you told me you got orange juice all over the suit I bought you. Um...
I didn't. The person sat behind me did. I'm the innocent party here.
Oh, funny. This girl, was it Jess?
Yeah, Jess, my girlfriend. No, it was not.
um, well. Are we counting Pau Torres in the squad we
Oh,
currently
we
have?
are. Yes, indeed,
Should
we
we
are.
can we
Yeah,
can we count it?
yeah.
Okay. Well, tell you what, how do you want to play this then? Do you want should we go, because obviously I'll ask you as well how you
Yeah,
see
sure.
the starting 11. Do you want to do it player by player, or shall I pick my squad first and then you pick your squad?
You pick yours first.
Okay, all right. Well, okay, so in goal, yeah, that's a no-brainer. Emi
Robin Olsen.
Martinez.
Oh, Amy Martinez.
No, yeah, got to be Emmy. I know there were these sort of links with him joining other big clubs, but they seem to have sort of gone away now, which has been nice. And hopefully he'll be back and fully focused for a new campaign. Obviously, he's one of our best players, and we're very sort of lucky to have him. And yeah, I can't see there being any difference to who's in goal at the start of this season compared to who was in goal at the end of the last one. So yeah, it's got to be Martinez in goal. So there. So this is where it gets a little bit interesting for me, because I don't think Emery rates Matty Cash that highly. Just to kind of a few things where he wasn't selected over Ashley Young, and Ashley Young came in and did a really good job, and very unfortunate not to be offered a new contract. So we're very light in that area. I'm assuming we will sign a replacement before August. But as you said, it's the squad as it is now, and if for whatever reason we didn't sign a replacement right back, I wonder, whether and given the Torres signing, which we mentioned, I wonder whether he might play Ezri Konsa at right back. We've seen it with McGinn, where McGinn is a central midfielder that he played at right midfield. He's done that before at Villarreal, where he's been playing, centre backs as fullbacks. So it's a system that he's sort of familiar with, Emery. And Konsa has played right back for us before. And I think as well, it might give us that extra element of physicality in defence. I mean, there's a few times we've played centre backs at right back. You think back to Olof Melberg, Carlos Cuellar, players like that have been shifted to fullback and done pretty well for us, to be fair. So I think Ezri Konsa would be right back. Next to him, I think will be Tyrone Mings.
Mm-hmm.
Next to him will be Pau Torres. And then left back, again, if we're looking at things at the moment, obviously Moreno is injured and has quite a serious injury by the looks of things, which he picked up towards the end of last season. I wonder, he'll have a job getting up and ready and fit for the start of next season, particularly for the first game. So I think he'll play Luca Dean, who is a more than acceptable replacement. In fact, I wonder with Digne whether he would kind of like accept that role long term. That could be an area that we look at in terms of, you know, one of the surprise departures over the summer. Perhaps Luca Digne might move on. But as things stand, and given Moreno's injury, I think Digne would be the left back. So that's my defence. I think maybe you pick your defence as you see it,
Okay.
and see how it compares.
So as I say, Robin Olsen in goal.
Yeah.
Martinez on the bench. No, obviously Emi Martinez, of course, world's best goalkeeper. And then in defence, well, I think that Emery has a plan with Pau Torres. I think he has an idea of what he wants, and I think he will likely start the first day of the season. Though, of course, Newcastle's quite physical approach to the game, and tall defenders. Set pieces, tall players. I don't think it would be ideal to not have Tyrone Mings playing that game. So again, I've seen Mings and Konsa play together, so I would go Mings at this moment in time. Mings, Konsa, Cash, and Dean at left back because of Moreno's potentially quite long-term injury. But as it stands, I sort of think, well, Emery clearly has something in mind for Pau Torres. So I'm going to go Pau Torres, Tyrone Mings. I'm going to go Matty Cash at right back, and I'm going to go, Luca Dean at left back just because of Moreno's injury.
Yeah, fine. Okay, so if we look at the midfield, well, it's difficult, isn't it? Because with the midfield, you'd like to think it kind of picks itself, really, given how well they all played at the end of last season. But I don't know the extent of Jacob Ramsey's injury. Because again, as things stand, we don't know how serious it is, and I'm gonna err on the side of optimism and say that it's not as serious as we all fear it could be, and he should be okay by August, which is over it's a month away. So I think Douglas Luiz plays, John McGinn plays, and Jacob Ramsey plays for me.
Okay.
There's kind of three in midfield. Yeah, I think that's we'll go. Actually, no.
Okay.
What am I talking about? God, this is actually quite hard. Because I completely forgot about Boubacar Kamara, who I kind of feel has to play, doesn't he? Unfortunate not to win his first France cap, having cancelled his honeymoon to make the French squad and didn't get any minutes on the pitch whatsoever.
I think he's played before. Has he?
Let's have a look. He has 3 caps.
Yeah.
But yeah, still to
not get a minute.
To not get a minute on the pitch after cancelling his honeymoon. It's a bit harsh. But yeah, okay. I think in which case it would be Kamara, Luiz, and McGinn.
Okay.
Yeah, those would be my 3 in midfield.
Well, I've gone 4. The sort of box 4 sort of thing. I'll go Kamara, Luiz, Tielemans on the bench.
Yeah,
great bench. It's a really good bench option, isn't it?
Definitely.
Free signing, loads and loads of experience. I just think it's a really solid guy to come off the bench and slip into wherever Douglas Luiz is playing, and some games Tielemans can start. But yeah, so Luiz and Kamara, and then Jacob Ramsey, hoping that there's not a serious injury there. And Super John again. He bullied Dan Burn, didn't he, a few months ago?
He did, yeah. He did.
And it'd be fun to see that happen again. So there's my 4.
So you've got 4. Where are they positioned for you?
McGinn on the right.
Yeah.
Kamara, CDM, Luiz just ahead as the playmaker role, and then Ramsey sort of as the inside left midfielder.
Yeah. So I would have Kamara as the DCM, and then Luiz. Luiz is kind of the central midfielder, kind of box to box, and then I'd have McGinn in a more attacking midfield role.
Yeah.
So sort of number 10. So yeah, so that would be my midfield 3. That's your midfield 4. So then my front three
Mm-hmm.
would be sort of Ramsey on the left,
Okay.
Watkins up front,
Mm-hmm.
and I would go at this stage Leon Bailey on the right.
Yeah, can't really disagree with that. Yeah, um, I'd probably go Buendia and Watkins. Now this is where we get into the stage of like where do Villa need to improve, and
Yeah.
it is uh, we need to get alternatives in the attacking areas. We just do. I really rate Buendia, and on his day, Leon Bailey has had days where he's been unplayable, and he's had days where he's been absolutely hopeless. To be quite frank, Buendia, and I've said this a million times, and I'll say it again. His ambition has to be to play for the Argentina national team. The attackers for Argentina are consistent. Every single day they produce magic. And if he wants to be in the Argentina team, he's got to be more consistent. And there are a lot of games where he is not. He doesn't impact it to the level to as consistently as his talent would enable him to do.
Yeah.
So I think that it would actually be a good thing for him to have competition in that attacking zone. A player, it's very hard to find those players, because if you're that level of quality in attacking area, the Champions League clubs tend to go for you, don't they? Is Pedro Gonçalves at Sporting, a player who's been linked with quite a bit? Is he a potential signing in that sort of role? Could be. I'll be intrigued.
Jaquazi maybe at Villarreal has been another player linked.
Yes. Yep. And again, same thing with Bailey. Needs competition. So I would be intrigued to see if Monchi brings in somebody that we've been linked with a lot of names, but at the same time, Monchi does have a bit of a track record of bringing in sort of players out of nowhere. Who's to say we won't just suddenly randomly have a player from, I don't know, Independiente in Argentina or Estudiantes or Boca Juniors or that's a market that Monchi's been in before. And actually been very successful. Signed a Montiel, I think, from River Plate a couple of seasons ago for Sevilla. So, that wouldn't shock me and again, some of those players might not be, Europe Premier League clubs that might say, you pay us 50 million for this guy. And maybe in South America, it might be 15 million. But so I wouldn't be totally shocked if something like that did happen. But I think for this way the squad is right this instant, I think the only major change really to last season is the introduction of Pau Torres. Though I imagine we're going to be very productive in the next month. And I wouldn't even be surprised if Guendouzi, someone like that, turned up as well and added even more competition into the midfield. And also Dendoncker might be going, George. What do you think about that?
It's one of those, he's a useful player. He came in and has played more under Emery than he had done towards the tail end of the season, particularly with Kamara's injury. And he's solid. He's a solid squad player. It's one of those ones where if there's a market for him, if clubs are interested and we can generate income for him, then we can replace him with someone who is frankly a better alternative, either a better squad player or a better starter, someone who can legitimately challenge Kamara or legitimately challenge Luis or McGinn or whoever, then you've got to kind of look at it, because it's one of those ones where you look at the top clubs and they've got fantastic players in every single position sort of duplicated, haven't they? So, Dendoncker is one of those players that he's a permanent bench player unless we have injuries, and then he's drafted in.
Yeah.
Whereas you don't want to be in a position where you have to rely on that. You want to be in a position where, okay, he's injured, but it doesn't matter because we've got this guy coming in. Whereas, obviously if Kamara got injured and Dendoncker came in, I think there would be a lot of us thinking that there's a bit of a weak link there.
Yeah.
So it would be unfortunate. He hasn't really done much wrong, but, I don't think he's particularly sort of demonstrated that he's a Europa League player or whatever for us. But we'll see. I'm sort of, I think it either way. If he stays, fine. If he goes, that's okay. I can live with that.
Yeah, I think that's the way to say it, isn't it? It's okay if he stays and it's okay if he goes. But I think if he goes, got to replace him because we don't really have a huge amount of players who can play in that CDM role outside of him and Kamara, really. So I would assume if he was sold, there's ideas to have a replacement in. It could, thinking of the Newcastle game, the 3-0 battering we gave to them, he was excellent in that game. So he has had some really good games for Villa. And I think in Europe this season, I think he'd be a pretty solid option. But again, and I'd personally be focusing more on the attacking areas. I still think that's where we need to really try and up the ante a bit. So yeah, I'm not. I don't know. I'm not like mad keen to see him go, but if there was a replacement in mind and he went for decent money, then all right, fair enough, I guess.